Hi, my friend. I pray that this message finds you full of peace, courage, and hope today. May this moment open your heart to something greater, something deeper, something that reminds you who you truly are. Because I believe you are not here by coincidence. You are here because heaven wanted you to hear these words. You are not meant to live a small life, tied down by fear, debt, or lack. You were created for something higher. You were created to be free in every area of your life, spiritually, emotionally, and yes, financially. Say Ameen. Unconsciously they are. There is a battle that happens every time a person of faith decides they've had enough of financial struggle. The very moment you say, I want to walk in freedom, forces of darkness begin to resist you because they know that when you become financially free, you become dangerous to their plans. You start giving generously, supporting others, and living boldly. You become someone who can't be manipulated by fear or controlled by circumstances. Demons hate your financial freedom because it means you're walking in the power God gave you, the power to choose, to create, and to prosper. The truth is, financial freedom doesn't begin with money. It begins with a mindset. It begins when you decide to stop believing the lies of lack. It starts when you understand that God didn't create you to live paycheck to paycheck, worrying about bills and debts. You were created to manage abundance, to multiply what's in your hands, and to walk confidently knowing that heaven supplies your needs. But the enemy wants to keep you blind to that truth. He wants you stuck in fear, thinking small, doubting yourself, and settling for less than what you deserve. Every time you start to dream big, the enemy whispers, it's not possible for you. Every time you plan something new, he tells you, you'll fail like before. Those are not your thoughts. They're seeds of doubt planted to hold you back. But you have authority over those lies. You can stand in faith and say, I am not who I used to be. I am blessed. I am capable. I am walking into my increase. When you speak faith, you silence fear. When you declare victory, you cancel defeat. That's when your spiritual breakthrough begins. When you stop agreeing with the lies of limitation. You must understand that your abundance has a purpose. It's not just about having more, it's about doing more. When you're financially free, you can give to the needy, bless families, fund dreams, and expand God's work on earth. That's why the enemy fights your finances so hard. Because if he can keep you struggling, he can keep you distracted. But when you're free, your focus shifts from surviving to serving. You become a channel of blessing, a vessel of provision, and a force for good in this world. You may have grown up surrounded by struggle. You may have heard people say, this is just how life is. But that's not your truth. You were chosen to break that pattern. You are the one in your family who will rise above it. You are the one who will show others that faith can open doors no man can close. Every generation has a chain breaker. And this time, it's you. The moment you decide to believe that God can use you for more, the heavens begin to align opportunities in your favor. But belief alone isn't enough. You must act on it. Faith is not passive. It's bold, active, and forward. moving. You have to step out even when you don't have it all figured out. Start the business with what you have. Save a little, even when it seems small. Learn, grow, and move forward. The smallest act of faith can unlock the greatest doors of provision. God honors movement, not fear. So don't wait for perfect timing. Make your move now. Start changing the way you speak. Your words carry power. They create the atmosphere around you. Stop saying, "I'll never afford this." Start saying, "God is opening ways for me." Stop saying, "I'm always behind." Start saying, "I'm catching up and moving ahead." What you speak becomes what you see. The universe responds to faith-filled words. Every declaration of blessing plants a seed in your future that will one day grow into harvest. You might not see immediate change, but that doesn't mean nothing is happening. Just like a seed in the ground, your faith is working in unseen ways. Opportunities are being prepared. Doors are being unlocked. People are being positioned to help you. Stay patient, stay faithful, and keep your expectation high. The same God who blessed others will bless you too. He's no respecter of persons. If He did it for them, He'll do it for you. And remember, your financial freedom is not just for you. It's for generations after you. When you rise, your children rise. When you prosper, your family prospers. You are planting seeds today that will bear fruit for decades. Demons hate your financial freedom because it doesn't just break one chain, it breaks many. It sets a legacy of blessing in motion that cannot be stopped. You are the proof that God's favor is real, that faith still works, and that no darkness can stop a believer who knows their worth. There is something powerful that begins to happen the moment you decide that you are not going to live under the weight of financial pressure anymore. When you finally say, "I was not born to struggle forever," something begins to move in the unseen realm. The enemy takes notice when you stop settling for less. Demons hate your financial freedom because it represents power, independence, and influence. They know that a person who walks in abundance cannot be controlled, cannot be silenced, and cannot be broken. Your prosperity terrifies darkness because it means you are walking in divine authority, no longer a victim of circumstance, but a vessel of blessing. Every time you take a step toward financial wisdom, you threaten the kingdom of darkness. When you budget wisely, when you save, when you sow, when you give, you are tearing down strongholds that once kept your family bound. The enemy wants to keep you in debt because debt keeps you distracted. He wants to keep you in fear because fear keeps you from moving forward. But when you rise up and say, "Enough is enough," something begins to shift inside you. Your mindset, your language, your expectations. That's when heaven starts to align opportunities in your path. You see, demons don't care about your income. They care about your impact. They know that once you're financially free, you'll help others, support good causes, and spread hope. You lift people up instead of being weighed down. Your wealth will become a weapon, a tool that destroys poverty, that funds dreams, that gives people a reason to believe again. And that's why they choose so hard. And that's why they fight you so hard. Not because you want more, but because they know what you'll do when you have more. They don't want you to see yourself as blessed. They want you to keep believing the lie that you'll always struggle. They want you to live small, to doubt your worth, to think you're undeserving of abundance. But the moment you realize who you are, a child of divine favor, the battle begins to turn. You begin to recognize that your ideas are not ordinary. Your work is not meaningless. Your effort carries heaven's breath. That realization alone breaks the power of every lie spoken against your success. When you walk in alignment with God's principles, your prosperity becomes inevitable. Darkness cannot stop what's ordained. No curse, no fear, no failure can block what faith unlocks. You might face resistance, you might face delay, but those are signs you're on the right track. Resistance means you're breaking through. The greater the opposition, the greater the destiny that's attached to your obedience. Demons hate your financial freedom because it exposes their weakness, that they can't stop a believer who knows who they are and whose they are. Every debt you pay, every seed you sow, every time you give with a cheerful heart, you're not just handling money. You're fighting a spiritual battle. You're proving that fear doesn't own you anymore. You're proving that lack doesn't define you. You're proving that you trust something greater than numbers on a page. You're trusting a God who multiplies, a God who restores, a God who turns not enough into more than enough. That kind of faith can't be shaken. That kind of faith makes hell nervous. You must remember, it's not just about what you earn, it's about what you learn while you're earning. Every challenge in your finances teaches you to depend on divine wisdom. Every closed door pushes you to find a new way. Every delay prepares you for greater stewardship. Demons fear wise believers because wisdom destroys bondage. Once you know how to manage what God gives you, you become unstoppable. You can't be tricked by greed, trapped by fear, or limited by lack. Financial freedom is not a one-time event. It's a spiritual process. It's breaking old habits, renewing your thoughts, and aligning your actions with purpose. The enemy hates it because every step you take toward discipline and faith is a step away from his influence. But with every decision to honor God with your finances, you're saying, you don't own me anymore. That's why this journey matters. It's not just about money, it's about mastery. When you walk in integrity, when you refuse to compromise, when you choose generosity over greed, you're walking in victory. The same demons that once tried to keep you broke now have to watch you bless others. The same voices that told you to give up now have to witness you grow stronger. Every act of faith you make is a declaration, I am free. That's what they hate most. Your freedom, your courage, your faith that refuses to bow. So don't stop moving forward. Even when it feels slow, even when you don't see results right away, keep going. Every step toward freedom weakens the enemy's hold. Every small victory builds momentum for a larger breakthrough. Demons may hate your financial freedom, but heaven celebrates it because your abundance brings light to the world and glory to the one who gave it all. Your words are not ordinary. They are instruments of creation. Every sentence that leaves your mouth carries energy, faith, and authority. When you speak in alignment with truth and expectation, you release power that shapes your reality. The enemy knows this, which is why he tries to keep you speaking defeat, limitation, and doubt. He knows that if he can control your words, he can control your world. Demons hate your financial freedom because it begins with what you declare. They fear a believer who refuses to say, "I'm broke," and instead says, "I am blessed, I am increasing, and my needs are met in full." Your language is your weapon, and when it's filled with faith, no darkness can silence it. Many people don't realize that their financial battles are often fueled by what they speak daily. "I can't afford this," or "I'll never get out of debt," becomes a seed planted in the soil of life. The more you speak lack, the more lack grows. But when you start speaking abundance, faith, and increase, you change the harvest that's coming your way. Words are spiritual containers. They either carry faith or fear, blessing or curse, freedom or bondage. You must choose to fill yours with power, confidence, and expectation. When you begin to align your mouth with your purpose, you'll start to see things shift. Opportunities that once seemed distant begin to appear. People start to notice your growth. Ideas flow freely. Doors that were once shut begin to open. That's not luck. That's the power of spoken faith. Heaven listens to words that are filled with trust. The moment you speak life into your finances, heaven begins to respond with favor, strategy, and breakthrough. You must be intentional about what you allow yourself to say. Don't repeat what your fear tells you. Don't speak what your bank account looks like. Speak what your faith believes will happen. Say, "I have more than enough." Say, "My business is growing." Say, "Money flows easily and freely to me because I handle it with wisdom." Your words must prophesy your future. You are either building your future or breaking it down with every sentence you speak. There will be times when the enemy tries to make you feel foolish for speaking faith when nothing looks different. He'll whisper, "You're wasting your breath." But you must remind yourself that faith speaks before it sees. You don't wait for evidence to believe. Your belief creates the evidence. Demons hate that kind of faith because it cannot be manipulated by appearances. When you speak with conviction, you're declaring war on everything that once held you silent. Even when your circumstances look the opposite of your declarations, keep speaking life. Keep blessing your finances. Keep affirming that you're favored and chosen for increase. Words are like seeds. They don't grow overnight, but they always grow. The ground of your life is listening, and every faith-filled word you plant will bring a harvest in its time. Don't dig up what you've planted just because you don't see it yet. Water it with praise, protect it with gratitude, and wait for it with patience. Demons hate your financial freedom because they can't operate in the atmosphere of faith. When you speak abundance, you shift the atmosphere from fear to confidence. Your words invite light into places they once occupied with darkness. They lose their grip every time you choose gratitude instead of complaint, worship instead of worry, boldness instead of fear. The moment you open your mouth to declare victory, the spiritual climate changes. You were never meant to speak like the world does. You are set apart, chosen, and anointed to speak with power. The same breath that carries your prayers carries your financial declarations. When you say, I'm walking into increase, the universe starts rearranging itself to match your confession. Your speech sets direction. It tells heaven where to send your blessings. Even your silence matters. When you stop complaining and start expecting, you create space for miracles. Complaining attracts more reasons to complain. Gratitude attracts more reasons to be grateful. When you thank God in advance for your breakthrough, you are proving that your faith is greater than your fear. That gratitude shifts the flow of blessings toward you. So speak with faith, my friend. Speak as if your words are building your future. Because they are. You are crafting the atmosphere for your next miracle. Every time you open your mouth, the forces of darkness can't stop a believer who knows the power of their tongue. Keep speaking increase. Keep declaring favor. Keep calling abundance into your life until everything around you begins to obey your faith-filled words. You are not here by accident. You are chosen, set apart and destined to be the one who breaks the cycle of struggle that has lingered for generations. You may come from a family where money was always tight, where dreams were limited by circumstances, and where lack felt like a permanent guest. But that story ends with you. You are the one who will rise above it. You are the one God will use to shift the atmosphere. Demons hate your financial freedom because they know once you break free, you will never let those chains return. They know your success won't stop with you. It will ripple through your family, your community, and the generations after you. You are the bridge between what was and what will be. Every decision you make in faith is rewriting the story of your bloodline. Every time you say, I will not live in lack, you're breaking an old agreement that poverty made with your past. The enemy wants to keep you tied to patterns that your ancestors couldn't escape. Fear, debt, limitation, doubt. But God has placed within you the power to break every pattern that was meant to keep you small. You are the new beginning your family has been praying for. Don't let where you started determine where you finish. You may not have inherited wealth, but you've inherited wisdom, courage, and favor. You may not have been handed money, but you've been handed potential. That potential is divine. It's God's signature on your destiny. You have the creativity to build, the endurance to rise, and the faith to sustain what you build. The enemy knows that once you start walking in this truth, no generational curse can survive. When you take authority over your mindset, you take authority over your future. Change doesn't begin in your hands, it begins in your thoughts. When you start to believe, I can do more, I can be more, I can have more, you start to think like a conqueror. That's when miracles begin. Heaven responds to a renewed mind. The moment you break away from old thinking, you break the power of the old struggle. Demons hate your financial freedom because it means the end of their influence in your lineage. some of the things you're fighting aren't even about you. They're about your bloodline. The enemy sees the blessing coming through you, and he's trying to stop it before it multiplies. But he's already lost, because greater is the one within you than the darkness that's against you. The power inside you is stronger than the curse that tried to control you. You carry a divine assignment to establish new patterns of prosperity, peace, and purpose. You must see yourself differently. You're not just working for yourself. You're working for every dream that was delayed before you. You're standing on the prayers of those who didn't see this day, and you're paving the way for those who will come after. That's why your financial freedom matters. It's not just about bills or bank accounts. It's about destiny. You are creating a legacy that says, "Why are no longer bound by lack?" Each time you learn something new about handling money, each time you make a wise decision, each time you sow a seed, you're tearing down a stronghold that held your family for years. Your obedience is your weapon. Your discipline is your defense. You are teaching future generations not to fear finances, but to master them with faith. The wisdom you walk in today will be the wealth your children walk in tomorrow. The reason the enemy fights you so hard is because he knows your breakthrough will create a chain reaction. Once you rise, you lift others. Once you prosper, you'll empower others. Once you walk in abundance, you'll inspire others to believe it's possible. That's why you feel the pressure, because you're carrying the power to change everything. The greater the assignment, the greater the resistance. But you were born for this. You are anointed to rise in places where others fell. You are called to finish what others started but could not complete. You have divine favor that turns obstacles into opportunities. The enemy can't stop it, no matter how hard he tries. Every challenge you face is only confirmation that you're carrying something valuable, something that will outlast every attack. And when you finally walk in that freedom, when you stand tall, knowing you've broken what once bound your bloodline, the very demons that tried to destroy you will have to watch you build. They'll have to watch you prosper. They'll have to watch you leave a legacy that glorifies God and blesses generations. Because your victory isn't just personal, it's prophetic. It announces to the world that every curse can be broken, every limit can be lifted, and every believer can walk in the freedom they were created for. Now it's time to act. Faith without movement remains a wish, but faith with action becomes a force. You've prayed, you've believed, you've declared. Now you must step into motion. Demons hate your financial freedom because they know that once you act, your words take form. As long as you stay still, they can whisper fear, doubt, and hesitation. But the moment you move, the moment you start that business, write that plan, invest that seed, or pursue that idea, the atmosphere shifts. Heaven moves with movers. Every step of faith you take invites divine acceleration. You don't need to see the whole road. You only need to take the first step, and God will meet you there. The enemy thrives on your hesitation. He wants you to keep saying, maybe later, Maybe someday, because delay is his disguise for defeat. But you can break that pattern by doing something today. Take the dream out of your heart and put it into your hands. Turn your thoughts into action. Do what you can with what you have, where you are. It's not about perfection, it's about progression. Small steps of obedience open great doors of opportunity. Every seed of effort carries the potential for harvest. When you act in faith, you're not moving alone. Heaven partners with bold believers. You may not have all the answers, but you have access to divine wisdom. You may not have enough resources yet, but favor will make up the difference. Demons fear believers who act because action proves belief. Every move you make in faith is a declaration that says, I trust God more than my fears. That kind of confidence makes darkness tremble because it shows that you're unstoppable. Action requires courage. And courage isn't the absence of fear, it's moving forward in spite of it. Fear will whisper, what if it fails? But faith will answer, what if it works? You must silence the voice of hesitation by doing what fear says you can't. Remember, progress doesn't come from waiting, it comes from walking. God can't steer a parked car, He moves those who move. Each time you act, you prove that you believe His promises are real. The enemy will always try to distract you with what you lack. Lack of time, lack of money, lack of support. But focus on what you do have. You have faith, creativity, endurance, and the favor of heaven backing you up. God never asked you to have everything figured out before you start. He just asked you to start. Take that first step and trust that provision will follow vision. The moment you act, resources begin to align, opportunities begin to appear, and people begin to connect with your purpose. Every big victory starts with a small act of obedience. Don't despise the small beginnings. The little thing you do today could be the very thing that shifts your entire future. Make the call, fill out the application, study that new skill, save that small amount, write that first line. Momentum is built by movement. And once you start, it becomes harder for fear to stop you. The enemy fears a believer in motion because faith with action becomes unstoppable power. Your action also becomes an act of worship. Every time you move toward your purpose, you honor the one who placed it inside you. Every time you refuse to give up, you show heaven that you're serious about your calling. That's when divine connections happen. When you do your part, God does His. You'll find yourself in the right place, meeting the right people at the right time, because obedience attracts opportunity. Demons hate your financial freedom because action exposes their weakness. They can only intimidate those who hesitate. They can only stop those who never start. Once you act, you prove that you're stronger than their lies. You prove that your faith is alive. You prove that you're done living in fear and ready to walk in victory. Action is the evidence of faith, and faith with evidence is unstoppable. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it. Don't wait for the right conditions. Declare them. The best time to begin is now. When you act in faith, you step into divine flow. You move from wishing to winning, from believing to becoming. Every action you take in faith breaks another chain of doubt, fear, and limitation. This is your time to build, to grow, to move, to act. You've prayed for change, now be the change. You've dreamed of freedom, now walk toward it. Every step counts. Every effort matters. Heaven is ready. The doors are open. The promise is waiting for your action. Don't let fear hold you one more day. Move forward, because your financial freedom is already written. It's waiting for you to walk into it.